So yeah, I coordinated with Holger to get the remote beam to work. I get it beam to support it, so I could do the all of the unit tests. And yeah, right now I'm mostly working on recurrent RC delegations, getting everything ready for a potential review soon. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. On the beam thing, I believe we've got mirroring set up now. I believe Bartek told me, and so I think that should all be good to go going forward. Bartek, if correct, feel free to chime in if that's not correct. But and then we're working on several things in Hive D right now. The voter expiration code is all done. The governance code for that is done. We're currently working on the Hive to HBD conversion code, and we're doing some analysis on the curation rewards curve code, but we'll probably have that done shortly too. We're also doing some work, just some cleanup work in Hive D, removing some dead code, stripping out some of the mirror code, and we've got the code compiling with GCC 10 now. And we're considering, I guess, I don't know if this doesn't necessarily directly impact hard fork 25 or anything, but we're also going to look at getting a new boost, working with a new boost version as well. And maybe 20 too, Ubuntu 20, we'll see. Let's see, anything else on Hive D side? We're doing some general testing of Hive D too. We've got some new guys who've been assigned and sort of getting them familiar with the code. They're also just playing around with setting up nodes and doing various tests just to sort of battle test the code in unusual ways. One other thing, while we were looking at the curation curve code, we found there's an error in the square root function that's used to compute the rewards. So we would probably fix that, except we're probably just going to eliminate the square root code anyway, so it won't really matter at that point. Let's see. So that's about all I can think of right off now at Hive D side. On the HiveMind side, we found that there was a memory increase issue where dictionaries were just growing over the time inside the Python code. So we're making changes to eliminate that memory increase, that steady memory increase there. Basically, it wasn't really a leak per se. It was intentional when whoever wrote the code originally, but it just builds up over time, which we don't want that. So that's being changed. For modular HiveMind, we're still working on the fork resolution code. We're making reasonable progress on that. And we're looking at two different ways to do it still. We're basically measuring the impacts of the two different approaches. One approach is basically all the changes that we might want to undo during a fork are getting stored to one table, and then the other approach is where we have a change list per table, which we call a shadow table, which tracks the undo state for that particular table. We're doing some experiments there with dealing with foreign keys and taking those in and out and seeing what kind of impacts that has. We did test just as a performance test. We ran HiveMind under Postgres 13 versus 10, which is what we currently use. And we did see about a 5% improvement in the time to do a full HiveMind sync. So that was nice to see. And there was no code changes really required. So I think we're going to move pretty soon towards Postgres 13, unless somebody raises some major objections along the way, which I don't know why they would. But so I'll mention that. We also did some experiments with the new measuring the block log time speed with and without the creating indexes, because we kind of would like to create indexes while we're running the block log. This is for modular HiveMind, where we're injecting data from Hive D into HiveMind. We want that. We'd like to do it with indexing so that we could then actually have it start. HiveMind itself could start taking the data that's being injected and using it immediately to build HiveMind tables. And let's see what else. I think that's about it. That pretty much covers what we're doing right now and what we've been doing.
So you're working on both the shadow table and the other approach at the same time?
Yeah. There's just trade-offs between the two approaches. So one approach uses a C extension to do it, and the other is purely a SQL solution.
Yeah, okay, I see. And so still no like tangible lean towards one or the other?
Yeah, because I mean, this user performance, so we got to see which one actually is faster. So it's no way to just pick one or the other without we can't make a guess really accurately
Yeah, that
in
makes
this
sense.
case.
Okay, so on to today's topic. First of all, it's basically something that we discussed last week, I think. It's basically the role of the owner key and how we would change that in hardfork 26, I think. Because like no way we're gonna change that for 25.
Yeah, I think we're all agreed on that.
So yeah, basically right now the owner keys can be used for anything, and the idea would be to remove that and only allow it to change the other keys basically, which would also solve a few other problems. Honestly, I don't really see any any problem with that, because in any case,
I kind of feel the same way. I haven't thought of any case where I think there's very little to requiring it to be used for other things, and it just seems dangerous overall.
Well, I mean,
because but dangerous in the sense that it encourages someone to potentially use it for other things which is, it's not desirable for that key to be used very often.
Yeah, well, then there is the whole discussion around the password then, where, I mean, the thing.
Yeah, so there's a similar problem with the master password.
Exactly,
So apart from the owner key itself, there's issue with the owner key. There's also a separate issue with the master password. So, I mean, from my point of view, I have to ask, what is the master password useful for at all? Why do we have it as such? I mean, or at least why would we allow it to be used in any front end?
Well, I mean, the underlying question around it would be, why would we even? I mean, could we remove it from the backend? Because from what I understand, the front end.
Well, I mean, it's the master password isn't in the backend, I would assume. I mean, the master password is just it's a key that generates other keys.
Yes, it doesn't exist on the blockchain itself.
Yeah, that's what I
Hive doesn't know what master password.
Essentially, just so my understanding of what a master password is it's a deterministic key that's used to generate the owner key, the other four keys.
Yeah. So then we could just basically remove the support for it in the libraries.
The UIs. Yeah.
Well,
So it's in the libraries too. Okay, I didn't know.
That's how the UIs are doing it. Basically, there are a ton of helper functions, and that's why so many UIs use it. It's because it's much easier to do it. And so if we are to remove support for it, then I'm sure all of the UIs would basically stop using it because it's not convenient to regenerate it.
Yeah, I think there's a reasonable. That's a reasonable thing to do. Obviously, we have to discuss that with the UI guys as well, though.
Yeah, I think there might be some pullback. But I mean, I think a few years ago that we might have seen a lot more pullback, but now that we have a lot of solid solutions like keychain, etc., it may not be as bad. So
yeah, and there's also plenty of reasons to recognize at this point that it's just caused a lot of problems.
Yeah, it's surprising that we don't have more, to be honest, but.
So yeah, I think that's also a good idea.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'll put this up, I think. Oh, that's me. I see. I hear something back.
Oh, I hear it too. It's like a high-pitched noise.
Yeah. Anyways, so I think it was Asgarth from PicD who found an issue in the. I mean, not an issue, but like it's a set reset account operation. Basically, it doesn't allow you to set yourself. It allows you to set yourself as a recovery account, and I think we should just add an asset to prevent that, because there is no reason. Why not?
No. It's a feature, not a bug.
Okay. I mean, I'm all ears. I didn't really find any use for it, so I would really like to know to hear what is actual usefulness.
I mean, it's not different from a situation where one scenario where Alice sets Alice as recovery account is no different from Alice setting Bob as recovery account if Bob can't recover account for Alice. But here's this unique scenario if you don't want anyone to have ways to recover your account, you can set it to yourself. Because you can't do that, setting it to null, because then top one witness can do that.
Oh, I thought okay, I see. I thought the null account would actually work. I mean, it wouldn't work. Okay, well, that's fair enough. Moving on, then there is a beam mirror thing. So that has been solved, I think. Cool. That's great. It's done on a specific branch, or is it on master? Because I may need to update all of my stuff.
Bartek, can you comment?
Actually, right now we have synchronized master branch from GitHub Holger repository to our GitLab one, and there is made some feature branches containing changes required for some new work related to elimination of legacy code in the wallet API, connecting CLI wallet to Hive instance. And after completing this code, we need to fix in Beam some serialization issue related to such legacy code in your new extension of update of, proposal operation. But maybe it was even done today. When this will be finished, I will merge such changes to the master branch in our GitLab repository. And next, we plan to create a regular pull request to the Holger GitHub repository, just to provide him our changes for just to have one source of data, and this way we will have synchronized both repositories with the same code. So I think most of the problem is solved, and actually, as I know, Mariusz, probably one of guys working at Hive, found some another place in the tests where some other internal branch was referenced for Beam, but this will be fixed together with such changes also. So I think we have everything handled in this part.
But wait.
But maybe you have something different in mind when you propose this subject to be discussed today.
Oh no, that was pretty much it. It is
okay. Okay.
to know what we were doing. One question though is that right now you're doing a branch and you plan on merging it to master and then making a pull request on GitHub, right?
Yes, because the merge request already done is targeted to our GitLab repository. But I think we all would like to have one source of Beam library, and this valid source, in my opinion, should be a GitHub repository. And of course, we can reference both any of that in our sources, but I'd like to avoid a situation that we will have a different version in our repository than version provided by Holger, because we don't want to split at this point. So just I'd like to provide him our code for merging into his version.
Okay, let me just confirm my understanding then. So we've got changes we need to get into Holger's repository. And then at the end of the day, once Holger has all of our changes, are we going to just start directly linking to his GitHub repo to pull the stuff in in other places, or are we going to create a mirror inside GitLab that just tracks GitHub changes? I mean, we're talking about making all the changes, I guess, in the GitHub repo.
Right now we are making changes inside our repository.
Yeah, I
GitLab.
understand what we're doing at the moment. I'm asking what's the planned final way we'll be operating?
Final plan is to put such changes to Holger repository, and I don't think so. We will often changing it. So GitLab repo was needed only for temporary time when we need to create some changes in this code.
Okay, I see. Well, I think there will be a conflict if you merge a commit, because then because when you will merge from GitLab to GitLab and you try to mirror, then the two histories will be different. So there will be a rebase will be needed, but that should be fine. But yeah, later on, I don't think there will be that many changes on Beam apart from like new features.
But I have today get latest master branch from GitHub and put it into our GitLab instance. So our changes are based off latest master taken from GitHub. So there should be no conflicts and other problems in the code, in my opinion.
Okay, well.
And that's my reasoning to avoid problems in the future. I'd like to avoid other changes directly to be retrieved from our GitLab instance, just to put them to GitHub, and in next need to change something there, we will again synchronize and create working branch and repeat the same procedure. So okay. I don't see personally any serious reason to have our one instance of Beam repository, because mostly we would like to use version provided by Holger, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like the last version is the version that we had previously was like a year old, and so and like in any case, it's much better to have like the state of the art, quote unquote. Okay, so then there is a subject that I put. It's like Python unit test versus Node unit tests. I shouldn't have put like VS, but it's basically the idea that right now we have like 3 layers of unit tests, which is the C++ unit tests. Then we have the CLI unit tests, and finally the Beam unit tests. And well, it's basically the idea that what is the purpose of the Beam unit test? Are they to validate both Beam and Hive or only Hive?
I think there's mostly just to validate Hive. I mean, it kind of has to validate Beam as part of the in order to work properly, but I believe the purpose is purely to validate Hive.
Yes, but also I think we need such thing, especially when we are extending blockchain by new operations. We also should provide, or at least reference some Beam version provided by other people, which also supports such new operations. So when we avoid testing it at unit tests, it will be easy broken after a few changes, and we don't know which version works or not. So that was the reasoning why we have added Beam and Python-based tests in the past, when after hard work, probably 24, it appeared that probably nothing works together with new Hive. Yes, that was probably rebranding changes which broken it completely. So that's
so it does
why
test. It does test Beam as well.
Yes, because it is one of major libraries supporting Hive. So I decided that it's quite important to have it
Have at least one
in our
library that was
yes,
tested with Hive. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
exactly. And actually, that's all from me.
Yeah, okay. I was mostly asking to know if there was any value in adding unit tests in Node as well. But there is like a lot of hog that will be put in the pipeline process, because like now you have to download a whole Node environment, which is very annoying. Whereas Python is already there. So yeah, I was mostly asking about that. Because the good thing about the unit test is that it forces new operations to be supported out of the gate by Beam. So that's me, more or less. And so I thought it could
Yeah, I
have...
mean, I guess the other way we could do that is we could put a test inside the Node.js library, the Hive.js library, to test against Hive too.
Yeah, true. I don't know if there is any pipelines that's currently running for Hive generation. I don't think so, right? I mean, Hive.js.
Yeah, I don't think it has not that I'm aware of, but I haven't looked at it, but I've never heard anybody refer to it. So I'm guessing it has no CI.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, that was about it for that subject. Unless someone wants to add anything else.
Yeah, I mean, that could probably be done too. Just they could, I mean, at least there probably ought to be something like that for a CI for Hive.js, and minimum case it could like just test against a public Hive node even.
Oh yeah, for the APIs, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that would work.
Or a testnet, rather. You know, if we had we want a standard running testnet all the time, right? And it could
if we had one, yeah, that's
yeah. So we should It's part of we should have a standard testnet, and then we could run all the library. All the libraries should probably have CIs that run against that.
Yeah, it would save a lot of time. But yeah, I guess once we have Half-Fork 25 throws, we could think about having a long-running testnet.
Well, right. I mean, we're gonna run a testnet for it anyways. We just keep it running.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. So speaking of which, delegations, RC delegations on Half-Fork 25. I guess there isn't much to say. It's basically, do we do it or do we not? I think we can. We have the time to add it, and since the whole we are kind of in a bull run and a lot of newcomers are coming, I feel like it's a very important feature to have. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, I guess our concern is, can we be sure it's solid in the amount of time we got left? We're probably talking about, beginning testing quite soon. What's I guess another. We're pretty much have to have a code freeze in the next week or two, right?
Yeah, in 15 days more or less. Well,
yeah.
18.
So
yeah, I feel like.
So,
well, I feel like that's doable, assuming we get some reviews in.
But how are you on testing of it? Do you think you have good test coverage on it?
Yeah, well, the good thing is that it wasn't entirely made by me. It was I'm like taking code from the old Steemit team, and so it's not.
I just don't know if they had test either. I'm not really concerned about who wrote it. I just wanted asking how well it's been tested.
So it has full coverage on unit tests. I'm working on adding the CLI tests. I think Beam has the operations added already, so I'm currently working on, as soon as I'm done on the CLI, I'm working on adding the Beam tests. And I also did quite a bit of field testing. That's basically my past week.
Okay. Yeah. So I'd say let's maybe refer back in another week and see how you feel about it after finishing up tests of it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I feel like it could be added, definitely. But it's just a matter of like, do we do it or do we not? So postpone to next week.
I mean, my only concern is, chance for
Breaking
problems.
it?
Yeah, that's my real concern.
But yeah, I don't. Well, the good thing about it is that it doesn't. Assuming it doesn't work, it's the only. Apart from the core code where it interacts with the rest of the the operations, all of the operations like delegating and setting a new slot, etc., those wouldn't have any impact on the rest of the chain. It's just the core evaluation of it, assuming it doesn't work, which it does, but still. But yeah, okay. Let's think back in a week, more or less.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I missed a ton of messages from guilty parties, as usual. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, he basically mentions that it would help removing the master password would be great. And there is no reason to remove the ability to set yourself as a trustee account. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, and on YouTube, question, what do devs think about creating an end user for HBD? I'm not sure what that would mean.
Where's the question?
Oh, it's on,
this is somewhere else YouTube. What's the question?
I pasted the link. But
thanks.
What do devs think about creating an end user for HBD? Would you be open to discuss about this? And I still don't know what it means.
Keeps telling me I'm leaving Zoom, and I've tried to click on this, but I guess it's okay.
And yeah, and then he mentions that he used the master key to change his keys, and in that case, you would just use the owner key, so that's fine. Yeah, I don't really know what you mean by that, the Hive, but worst case, you can just throw an issue at us, and we'll definitely look at it. Do you guys have anything else before we close? Okay, I guess not. Well, see you in 2 weeks then, I guess.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.